Hey, what's going on, y'all? Thank you. Thank you for listening. If you're tuning in, I'm Rashad. This is Cardigans and White Tees, the inaugural episode. I'm so excited to be speaking with you today. So, first things I want to get out the way is I'm from Philly, y'all. So, I'm going to talk really fast sometimes. Please keep up. Definitely slow me down if you need to slow me down. But the more excited I get, the faster I'm going to speak. It's going to be a little rough at times for y'all that's not from Philly or used to listening to somebody from the East Coast who speaks so fast. I just want to kind of give you that heads up, that disclaimer. Second, I got my dog with me, C's. She's here. Of course, she lives here. So, name's Coffee. I call her C's or CC or C's, whatever. She'll make some appearances. She'll definitely get a little rambunctious. Right now, she's laying down asleep. I guess I could show y'all C's. She's over here. Don't judge me. I've been cleaning the apartment today. So other parts that you do know, I am a PhD student. Let me put my stuff on Do Not Disturb. Bow. Do Not Disturb. And we on. So yeah, another thing. I'm a PhD student. That's why I'm doing this. Get busy. So just kind of want to get started because we got a lot to cover today. I want to start with what is Cardigans and White Tees. So Cardigans and White Tees is a little bit of my professional identity, right? Background on it, when I was in the military, I was in the Air Force, I was doing my Six Sigma certification, or as they called it in the Air Force, Episode 21. And I was a facilitator. I was working on my green belt, which ironically enough had nothing to do with martial arts. But I'm working on it nonetheless, right? And I go in one day, and of course, we didn't have to wear uniforms because there was this whole issue like if wearing uniforms, there may be some power dynamics where lower ranking enlisted wouldn't be able to speak out against senior enlisted or so forth and so on. Had to go ahead and let that out real quick. But so they didn't have uniforms to try to make sure that the conversation flowed a little bit better. So I show up wearing jeans and a white tee because I'm from North Philly, y'all. I'm from North. And so the director of the program at the time, he pulls me aside and says, Aaron Freeman, white t-shirts aren't really professional. I'm like, well, who said professional? Like, I don't care. But as a facilitator, I have to have a professional image. So I didn't know what that meant. So what I did was I went to the polo outlets in Vacaville, however you want to call it, and I bought a cardigan and some chinos, y'all. And I'm putting this picture up real quick. You'll see the picture, and don't clown me because this cardigan is screaming. But I think it was the way I was standing. I don't know. Nonetheless, don't clown me. Y'all get to see it. That was the look. That was the look I went with. And that was the first thing I learned about dressing, quote unquote, professional. So back to today, I've learned that, we don't go through these phases in life, right? Where we're going to transition of who we are. We're going to cross different worlds. And some of these worlds we're going to bring with us. Some of these worlds we're not. For me, the white t-shirt was part of the world that I knew, the world I grew up in. So it's not leaving. But the cardigans was like the world that I was going into, this professional world. And even in the military, while I wasn't so professional that you had to wear this because they gave you a uniform and you wore this uniform when you needed to be professional. But now in life, and still throughout life, everywhere in life, you're going to have to wear something a little more professional. And you have to, professional, I put in air quotes. But nonetheless, you're going to have to kind of figure out how you want to present yourself to the world. And for me, I didn't want to lose that part of me from North Philly, the one who shows up wearing a white t-shirt, because that is 100% who I am. But at the same time, I'm also growing into different parts of the world where you might want to put the cardigan on, one because it's cold, or you might just want to put it on because you want to present a little bit differently. So that's where this came from. So that's like really one of my things that I've been grappling with while going through education, from undergrad, master's, and now into this doctoral program, how to blend those identities between the white t-shirt and the cardigan. So what came from that is this talking to you all about my experience blending those two worlds and navigating these two spaces. So that takes us into why am I doing this right here? So I'm doing this because back what you heard. I'm from Philly, and I'm from that part of Philly that's poor, right? And not necessarily because it's poor, but it is. I looked up the census data on there using policy maps. You can all do it if you got access to it. But the median household income for the zip code area that I grew up in as of 2019 was $18,500 or something of the sorts. So that's not to say that people don't make more, but the median, that middle income right there, smack dab in the middle of everybody who's making money, reportedly, that's how much they're making. That is poor. Poor, yo. That's a yearly income, less than 20 grand. There are some professions you make that in 2 months. There's some you make it in a quarter. But let's not compare. Let's just go ahead and say that because of that, I didn't really have all the role models that I could have. So I went to the military academy and I met some great people, Sergeant Matthews, Dr. Wright, who was renowned in the school district of Philadelphia, First Sergeant Edward Hampton. Like, these were some great role models I had initially. And then after a while, I met Greg Corbin, who he was running PYPM, or Philadelphia Youth Poetry Movement at the time. And all these people were very instrumental in me developing values and morals as a man. As a black man, what it meant to be a black man, they helped me with. So I joined the military, met a different group of guys, some black men, some not, and ended up, after separating, hanging out with this guy named Preston Broussard. And I call him Papa emphatically. Unfortunately, he had passed away. But Papa was a Vietnam vet with a PhD. My clothes are done. I told y'all, it's cleaning day. So Papa, PhD, bang. And he was by all means my senior, PhD, Air Force vet. His grandkids were older than me. There was nothing that, we were on the same level with, but he never regarded me as less. And I always appreciated that. So he gave me some new values, some new morals in life. And then from there, I decided to go back to school. And I personally choose education, but not everybody chooses education. So there's that. But the reason I went back to school comes from this conversation I had with my mom. I think that's where it starts. I do love education. I like to consider myself a lifelong learner. But when I first got out, I was working at this private aviation company in Delaware. And my brother, he ended up buying a Greyhound ticket to go to San Francisco, right? And it's wild. It was a 4-day trip. He had no money. He interviewed at Chipotle the day he got out there and got the job. He was going to start the next week. But if you know the Bay Area, you don't just move to the Bay Area. So he goes out there. He moves to the Bay Area. He had no money. He gets the job. I had to buy him a Greyhound ticket home. He gets on the bus, gets off in Reno, and goes back to San Francisco for like $11. So I'm sick because I just lost, he was like $250, and at the time, $250 went a long way. And today, that could go a long way for some people too. But yeah, I'm hot. So I'm talking to my mom about it, and I was like, yeah, it seems to me like he's running from something here in Philadelphia. My brother's gay, so maybe that was a part of it because San Francisco is gay, or at least gay friendly, not the city itself, but it's gay friendly nonetheless. So I thought that was it. And my mom says to me, like, where you get your degree from? And explicitives, but that's the short of it. And I was like, all right, bet. So I ended up getting fired at the aviation company I was working with. But that's probably a blessing, for me at least, because it allowed me to pursue something. So I went back to school, did my undergrad at Cal State Los Angeles. My undergrad degree is in communicative disorders. But right after I graduated, my brother, the same one who moved to San Francisco, through a process of mental health concerns that got the best of him, was compelled through that disorder to take our mother's life. And we did everything we can as a family to try to help before this got to that point. But the way the systems worked, despite my level of perceived education or my mother's desire to heal her son, it was just barrier after barrier that we couldn't overcome. It was insurmountable. So I decided, you need to fix it. Now, I was in the military, right? I was in the Air Force, and I was finishing up basic training. And my TI at the time, his name was Sergeant Cooper. He had left us with some parting gifts as we left. He said, you could complain, all you want. Or you could shut the fuck up and make rank. I was like, bet. Say less, shut the fuck up, make rank. Well, I applied that same theory to the system that we're just working with. We could complain all day, right, about how the system failed us. Or we could shut the fuck up and do something about it. And I get it that not everybody got the opportunity to do something about it, but now I do. And this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to share how I got to this point. Now, there's going to be some things like I started off with a little bit better position because I'm a veteran. I had some education benefits that helped me. I had disability that helped take care of the bills to kind of keep things moving. And so I had a little bit more freedom to pursue school so that I didn't get crushed by the crippling debt of education, which is a whole thing we could make a whole nother video blog or whatever you want about, because that is overrated. However, right, that was my path. I wanted to do education, so I stayed in my lane. And when I was navigating this path, trying to get into my master's, there was a few people that I got help with. First, I got to put it as my man Mike Huff, right? Huff, he had wrote my recommendation letter to my master's program, right? And he has a platform. If you're not on, you need to get on. It's Wave Makers Only. I'm gonna put that in his Instagram in the comments, in the not the comments, the description. So I'm gonna put that in the description because you need to check him out. He also breeds dogs in a very humane way because that helps him through his processes, and he's dope at it. He's a motivational speaker. Check him out, yo. Check him out. So Mike, he has his MBA and he worked his way up. So he helped me out. Then I got my guy Daniel, who also helped out a lot. He didn't write one of my recommendation letters for my master's, but he did for my PhD. But he helped me write a personal statement because I didn't really know how to do that. So he helped me edit it. He helped give me some things. He didn't write a single word, but he gave me direction. And Daniel's Hispanic. So he's not black, but he's a man of color. And he's the first in his family to go to school, especially through this length. He's also the only other person I know in my group who decided to go into this terminal degree of doctorate or doctoral levels. The first, I do know some other people now who's in this. Not too many men of color, but I do know a few others. But that was that experience. So I really relied heavily on Daniel, and he was very, very pivotal in helping me through this. But then I got time that I was going to work on a PhD, and Mike never did that, unfortunately. You know, that's not his lane. And we don't get to that here in a little bit, but that's not his lane. He didn't want that for himself, and I did. So I couldn't rely on Mike or his expertise anymore, and I did still definitely rely on Daniel and his expertise working through it. But I had a community of one at that point in time as far as that support went. And I definitely used the community and the resources I had around me, but at that time I was very limited. So I decided now to share my experience and to try to create a platform that's beyond just this experience. You know, I'm definitely going to help out as much as I can with talking about what it's like to be in a program, what I did in this process to get here, where I'm at here, and all that. But more so for everyone, right, that's in the industry. Because the higher up you go, unfortunately, reality is that most fields, the more you go, the less the people are going to look like you if you're a person of color. You know, so thankfully, you know, I'm in the PhD program. I'm at IU, UC in Indiana, and the program is great. You know, I'm doing a PhD in public health, focus on health behavior. So I was in the Department of Applied Health Science. My faculty is amazing. They're definitely very supportive, and they helping me a lot with getting to where I'm at and my goals and everything. But it's isolating, y'all. Like, I am literally one of the only few black people in the program, and the only black man in the program. I think there's a few black faculty members, but not many, right? So especially if you're talking African American, I'm like literally the only African American, minus one of my advisors, who's an African American woman. But that's it, you know, it's us in a whole department, right? So it's lonely, and it's not just lonely. It's I have to work so much harder to prove myself every day than some of my colleagues. At least that's what my perception is. So instead, I come here and I talk with y'all, and I'm hoping to build this community of other people with like minds, have it be in education or other paths, who feels this isolation as we're chasing our dreams, right? So where I'm at now is my second semester of my degree program, my first year, and I'm working, I'm scrambling, y'all. I'm trying to figure it all out, and it's going good so far. Not the best, but such is life. But it's going good, and I'm keeping working at it. Right, I'm gonna keep on working at it. But what I wanted to bring out was this: what's next? Right, what I learned so far in this program, and where I want to go, where I want to take this, and everything like that. Right. So, what I learned first and foremost is a quote I'm gonna take from Daniel when he first started his program. Was that have some fun with it while you're here. We worked so hard to get here, and we overcome obstacle after obstacle. And I know I'm no stranger to overcoming obstacles in this aspect. So enjoy it. This is the goal. This was the goal. And just because the goal now has to be to finish or to do more after that, that doesn't mean that I shouldn't have fun. So I'm working on that, trying to figure out how to have fun, how to get everything back. Haven't been in the gym this semester yet, but I'm trying. I'm working on keeping in touch with people in my community that I really find useful in the community. So on Sundays I reach out. That's my thing. So I'm reaching out to different people. So that's where I'm at with it. A few things I learned. That conferences are expensive. I seen it in undergrad, but I never really had to feel it because I didn't go to these big research schools for undergrad or masters. But now I am in the conference I'm planning on attending. I already registered for American Academy of Health Behavior. Sheesh. Yo, it costs a bit, y'all. It costs a bit. So I know some departments, including mine, they're doing funding for it and all, but I paid out of pocket because I wanted to save the funding. I don't know. It's a little rough, y'all. When you're a person of color, you're not used to just taking things from people. When you work this hard, you're used to working for it. So I worked for it. I had the financial freedom to buy, to register for the conference, to get these credits for my continuing education, for this CHES certificate that I have. So I paid for it. But between that, the hotel and the flights and the rental car and everything, it add up. It add up a lot. So it's a little rough. Second part is, again, that perception I was talking about, right? I feel the need to go to this conference and to pay out of pocket. So I'm trying to work on finishing up. By the time you've seen this, hopefully I finished everything I need for this 3-minute thesis competition for the same conference. So at least the money be worth it. I could participate. I made some business cards with my LinkedIn information. That's pretty much all I have. So I'm handing those out because I need that network. And these are things some other people had in play already that I didn't. And I feel the need to do that, to continuously perform, to take on more projects and more tasks. And that sleep when I'm dead, that hustle culture mentality. And it's toxic. It is problematic. You can't do it. Nobody could do it. There's people that try and they're burning out all over the place. There's people who do it and they are successful, and congratulations to them. But for the masses, that just does not work. You need rest. You need recovery, to be healthy. I'm a public health scholar. So I know that concept, right? That I need to prioritize health, but still I feel as though I need to compete. I need to be competitive in this environment. And that means, because of the way the society is ran, that I need to be super competitive. So I'm doing all this. And I'm going to share with y'all my experiences and what I learned, which tasks were of more value and which were less, comparatively from my perspective. So I can't wait for that, but I also want to talk to others in different industries and figure out what they learned, where they're at in their process, what they wish they would have learned better or sooner, who their mentors were, all of it, right? So there's going to be that. And we don't get into all of it. I'm going to have an episode about my application process, choosing schools and doing interviews, all of it. I'm going to have a conversation about writing my first paper, submitting to my first journal, submitting to all of it. And again, I'm in the PhD program. And I'm working on submitting to my first journal. There's undergrads with journal submissions, with publications. So it's a whole lot to parse out, and we're really going to get through it all. But before we get to all of it, to end off this one, because I don't want to spend too much of your time, right? Few things left to discuss. First, words of encouragement, right? Start today. The problem that we have right now, in my opinion, just my opinion, y'all, and I'm nobody special, is that we live in a society so critical, so focused on perfection, that is so unattainable, that we often criticize ourselves that we're not perfect enough. We're not up to par to start this, and we want to wait for the perfect conditions to exist so we could do it. And those conditions just do not exist. They're not real. They're not. And I'm guilty of it. I made every excuse for why I haven't started this platform earlier. I got a tooth extracted from the VA last year, and they were supposed to put another one in, and they didn't. And it's like, I don't need it. Like, of course, obviously you watch it, it's a little distracted. My tooth ain't there. But for the most part, it didn't change what I wanted to say. So that was the excuse. That was just, whatever. Second is, I had this doubt, like, I don't have the personality these influencers have. This, hey, welcome, subscribe. Even though I ain't going to tell you to subscribe. But, I'm just saying, I'm not that guy. I'm not that charismatic or whatever. But I am at the same time. And, I don't know if that's what everyone needs either. Maybe sometimes people just need to hear the boring guy speak, the monotone one. I'm trying not to do that, but, we're going to do it sometimes, right? And lastly about this all is that I don't have the right answer. And I'm hoping to learn that right answer, and I hope that we can all do this together. But in order to do that, I had to start. So whatever your dream is, whatever your passion is, start it today and fail. And I say that, and I know there's a privilege to it because I'm sitting here speaking to a camera that, again, I had for about a year now that I never used. That's privilege, right? But try, start, chip away at it. You know what I mean? It's like you're never going to be perfect, in the beginning. But you can work towards perfection, which you may or may not ever accomplish. But work at it. Get started today. Try today. And that's it. Second, hustle culture is stupid. It is so toxic. Stop that. Work diligently towards your goals, right? And that comes to this last point I'm going to make. But work diligently towards your goals, but do it in a way that you're still making time for enjoyment of life. You're still making time to enjoy the environment that you're in, the people you're around, and the things that you have, right? Because you have to reflect on it. We come so far every day, and it's so easy to lose sight of how much progress we made because we still haven't hit that finish line, right? But you're making progress, so enjoy it. Sit back and smell the roses, if you will. Work diligently, but don't overexert yourself for the sake of getting to a goal. You're going to get there. If you keep applying pressure, you're going to make it happen. That's it. Is this how, like water, for example? Water is the most erosive substance in this world. And it's not because it's the strongest, but it's because it's the most persistent application of pressure. Water erodes land and metal. It will destroy literally anything it touches because it applies pressure. Then there's some chemical components to it, but we don't need to get into that. I'm not that type of scientist. But nonetheless, y'all know what I'm saying. Y'all get what I'm saying, right? And then the last part is find your lane and stay in it, right? Again, it's so easy to hop on Instagram or TikTok or whatever platform you're going to be on, and you see these 18 or 21-year-olds and they dancing, they milli rocking. I don't even think they milli rocking no more. It moves so fast. Everybody want to keep up. They want to start businesses and put credit in the business name and use the business credit to build this and to buy that. If that's not your lane, that's not your lane. Know your lane. Find your lane and stay in it. And I'm not saying like you'll need to be complacent, but find your passion, find your happy place, right? And don't compare yourself to people that's not in your lane, because they're not in your lane. They're not doing what you're doing. So why would you compare yourself to what they doing when you don't even really want that for yourself? You just want what it looks like they have, and they might not have it. They have some of it. They might not have all of it. They might be looking at you and want something you have. So be that role model for your lane, not for other people, but for your lane, right? For me, education and lane. In Philly, they call me go to school boy. Like, yo, you the boy that be going to school, right? That's me. I'm go to school boy, right? I ain't have a real job in a little while, like a full-time position. So I just been going to school since undergrad, master's, like PhD. Like, there's a lot of school in there. And it took me a minute to get my undergrad, too, because I changed majors and I had some problems of my own with mental health as far as like depression, anxiety, PTSD types, whatever it is. I was drinking a lot, but, neither here nor there. We'll talk about it all eventually. But, yeah, I'm going to school ball. That's my lane. Like, if you ever catch me in Philly, like, oh, yeah, that's the boy who go to school. Shy, the one go to school. That's my lane, yo. Like, I could have went into any other lane if I wanted to, and I could have probably been successful at it because I have this mentality to apply pressure. But that doesn't mean I would have been happy. I got a couple of good homies that hopefully y'all meet on this channel or definitely in person because that is that dope to be around. And once you meet them, you understand, like, yo, I get it. They don't go to school and they're happy. They have things in their life outside of conventional measures of success that I really want. Not necessarily that I'm envious of, but I want to grow more to be like. I want to gain that skill, that passion for something. And that's dope. That's the people I'm around. These people don't have no degrees. They're not making 6, 7, 8 figures or whatever it is. None of that. But they have virtue, and that virtue that I want to learn. So I stay around them to learn from them. To be able to become closer to that for myself and apply that to my passion. So find your lane. Stay in your lane so you can develop that. You can be the best at that lane. And then you're good. Then you're good. So, that's just a couple things I had to say for this one. We're going to touch into some more things later on. A few things out there, y'all. Again, don't have to be perfect, right? This is weird, first of all, this whole setup. Talking to a camera is crazy. It's mind-boggling, but I'm doing it. So do it. Just do it. That's the easiest way to put it. Right, subscribe. if you listen and you're interested in what's going to come next, subscribe. But let me warn you, though I am in school and I'm getting this PhD or whatever, there's going to be times I'm going to quote-unquote code switch, right? I'm going to go from this academic lecture speech like I was some type of professor, which I will be one day, probably. And then I'm going to go to like this North Philly approach, right? This is who I am, raw, uncut. Semantics is going to be different. Again, speech pathology background, so that African-American vernacular English, they call it. But, talking black, if you will. We don't do all of it because all of that is who I am. And it's all necessary to communicate this message because the message isn't do what I do or sound like I sound. The message is keep going and let's talk about it and let's exchange ideas. Let's share in the struggle and the triumphs and let's do all of it. So if you cool with that, subscribe and stay tuned for episode 2 because we're going to talk about a little bit more, y'all. But again, thank you for tuning in. C's didn't wake up this time, but she'll be around next time for y'all, I promise. She's the cuter of the two. So it's going to be a fun time, y'all. I'm very excited to share this journey. Hope to talk to you soon.